The snow fell in gentle drifts outside the windows of the Imperial Palace, coating St. Petersburg in a pristine white blanket that masked the city's growing unrest. Inside, chandeliers cast golden light over the winter ball, where aristocrats danced and schemed beneath gilded ceilings. Princess Polina Virokov observed it all from behind a servant's uniform, her hands raw from scrubbing floors that she had once glided across in silk slippers. "Girl! The glasses need polishing before midnight." The head housekeeper's voice cut through her reverie. "Stop your daydreaming." "Yes, madam, all over," Polina replied, lowering her eyes appropriately. 6 months ago, she would have responded with defiance to such a tone, but desperation had taught her humility. The Virokov family's fall had been swift and merciless. Her father, once Grand Duke and cousin to the Tsar himself, had been denounced as a sympathizer to revolutionary ideas. Their estates were seized, titles suspended. Only through the intervention of an old family ally had they escaped exile to Siberia. The price of that mercy, Polina would serve in the Imperial Palace, an arrangement that allowed her mother and younger sisters to live in modest comfort in a small country cottage. What none knew, save the Tsar himself and his closest advisers, was that Polina's presence in the palace served another purpose. She was both hostage and spy, insurance against her father's potential future indiscretions. The revolution was coming, everyone felt it. The imperial family needed to know which nobles might waver in their loyalties. As Polina moved silently through the ballroom with her tray of champagne, she caught snippets of conversation, cataloguing them as she had been instructed. Baron Menshikov complained about grain taxes. Countess Orlova discussed her son's military appointment. Nothing of consequence. "You've missed a spot." The deep voice startled her. She turned to find Prince Stefan Ivanov standing closer than protocol would permit for a servant. His dark eyes studied her with unsettling intensity. "My apologies, Your Highness." Polina dipped into a curtsy, hoping he wouldn't recognize her beneath the plain cap that concealed her once famous auburn hair. "Not there," he said, his voice lowered so only she could hear. "On your wrist. The birthmark. The one shaped like the Russian imperial crown." Polina's blood ran cold. The small birthmark, an aristocratic family trait that had once been a point of pride, now condemned her. She had been careful to keep it covered with powder or sleeves. "I don't know what Your Highness means," she whispered, even as panic rose in her throat. A slight smile touched Stefan's lips. "Don't you, Princess Virokov?" The champagne glasses trembled on her tray. Stefan Ivanov wasn't merely a prince, he was the Tsar's nephew, commander of the Imperial Guard, and rumored to be the most dangerous man in the court. His reputation for ruthless loyalty to the crown was legendary. "Meet me in the East Wing Library at midnight," he murmured. "Otherwise, I'll be forced to report my observations to my uncle." Before she could respond, he was gone, swallowed by the crowd of dancing nobles who remained blissfully ignorant that one of their own poured their champagne. The library stood silent and shadowed when Polina slipped through its doors at the appointed hour. A single lamp burned on a desk near the window, illuminating Prince Stefan's profile as he stood gazing out at the snow-covered gardens. "You came," he said without turning. "Was there a choice, Your Highness?" Now he faced her, and in the lamplight, she could see the complexity in his expression. Stefan Ivanov was 32, 12 years her senior, with a face that poets might call severe rather than handsome, until he smiled, as he did now. "There's always a choice, Princess. You chose to protect your family by becoming a servant. Admirable." Polina straightened her spine, reclaiming some of the dignity she'd set aside with her title. "What do you want from me, Prince Ivanov?" "The truth, for a start." He gestured to a chair. When she hesitated, he added, "Please. I've been standing on ceremony all evening." Cautiously, she Saturday. A princess sitting in the presence of a prince would be proper. A servant doing so would be impertinent. The contradiction of her position had never felt so acute. "I know why you're here," Stefan said, remaining standing. "The Tsar believes your father is corresponding with revolutionaries. You're his insurance policy. And you're here to, what? Threaten me? Report me? Her voice remained steady though her hands trembled in her lap. I'm here to help you. Polina laughed bitterly. Forgive me if I find that difficult to believe. Your loyalty to the Tsar is well known. My loyalty is to Russia, he corrected. And Russia is more than one man, even if that man wears the crown. He moved to a bookshelf and pulled out a volume of Pushkin's poetry. From within its pages, he withdrew several letters, which he placed on the table between them. These were intercepted en route to your father. They detail plans for an uprising in the spring. Had they reached him, and had he responded, it would have meant exile for all of you. Or worse. Polina stared at the letters, her heart pounding. My father is no revolutionary. He merely suggested reforms, I know. Stefan's voice softened. I was present at the council meeting where he spoke. His ideas were moderate, sensible. The Tsar overreacted. She looked up at him, confused by this apparent sympathy. Then why are you showing me these? Because you need to understand the danger. And because I need someone I can trust. Trust? You don't even know me. Stefan smiled again, the expression warming his austere features. I know more than you think, Princess Polina. I've observed you these past months. While other fallen nobles who serve in the palace complain and scheme, you work without complaint. You send most of your wages to your family. You're kind to the other servants. And despite being ordered to spy, you've reported nothing of consequence to the Tsar's advisors. Polina flushed. How could you possibly know that? Because I read all the reports. He sat down across from her. I need an ally, princess. Someone who understands both worlds, the nobility and the common people. Someone who cares more about Russia's future than their own status. And what would this alliance entail, exactly? Information. Discretion. His eyes held hers. And perhaps, in time, trust. Polina considered the man before her. Prince Stefan Ivanov had always been a remote figure in court life, respected but rarely seen at social functions, more soldier than socialite. Rumors about him abounded, that he had personally stopped an assassination attempt on the Tsar, that he had lived among peasants for a year to understand their grievances, that he had refused 3 arranged marriages, earning his uncle's displeasure. Why me? She finally asked. Because you have nothing left to lose, he said. And everything to gain. Winter deepened, and with it, Paulina's strange alliance with Prince Stefan. Their meetings became regular, always in the library, always under the pretense of her cleaning the room. He brought her letters to read, documents that revealed the true state of the empire. In return, she shared what she observed among the servants and in the kitchens, where revolutionary sentiment brewed alongside the Tsar's tea. One evening in late January, she arrived to find Stefan pacing, his usual composure disturbed. What's happened? She asked, setting aside her cleaning cloth. The Tsar is considering a marriage alliance for me, he said without preamble. To the Archduchess of Austria. It would secure their neutrality if the predicted conflict with Germany comes to pass. Polina ignored the inexplicable pang in her chest at this news. That seems politically sound. It is. He stopped pacing to look at her. It would also remove me from St. Petersburg for months during the negotiations. I cannot leave now, not when things are so precarious. Surely your duty to the crown, my duty is to prevent a bloodbath. His voice rose uncharacteristically. The revolutionaries grow stronger daily. The Tsar refuses to see it. If concessions aren't made soon, we'll have open rebellion. Polina approached him cautiously. What can I do? He ran a hand through his dark hair. Keep gathering information. I've arranged for letters to be delivered here, correspondence only you should see. I'll return as quickly as possible. How will I reach you if something urgent arises? Stefan withdrew a small key from his pocket. This opens a drawer in this desk. Inside is a sealed envelope with an address in Vienna. If you need to contact me, write to that address under the name Pavel Sokolov. Their fingers brushed as she took the key, and Polina was startled by the warmth that spread up her arm at the contact. For a moment, neither spoke. "Princess," he finally said, his voice lower, "be careful. If anyone discovers our communication, I understand the risks," she interrupted. "As you said when we began, I have nothing left to lose." Something flickered in his eyes, perhaps sadness, perhaps something else. "Don't say that. There is always something to lose, Polina." It was the first time he had used her name without her title. February brought bitter cold and increasing tensions within the palace. Servants whispered of bread shortages in the city. Guards doubled at the gates. Polina continued her double life, scrubbing floors by day, reading Stefan's secret correspondence by night, watching as his warnings about revolutionary fervor proved increasingly prescient. His letters from Vienna came weekly, disguised as administrative correspondence. They were necessarily oblique, but Polina learned to read between the lines. The Austrian marriage negotiations progressed slowly, deliberately so, she suspected. Between diplomatic observations, Stefan included personal notes that she treasured more than she cared to admit. The gardens here are precise but soulless. I find myself missing the wild roses that grow along the southern wall of our palace grounds, the ones you mentioned admiring. Last night's opera was Tchaikovsky. I remembered you once told me he was your father's favorite composer. The music made me think of home. The Archduchess is accomplished and intelligent. In another life, I might have considered the match fortunate. In this one, I find my thoughts turning elsewhere. Each such note, Polina carefully burned after reading, but their words remained branded in her memory. It was foolish, this growing attachment to a man so far beyond her now diminished station. Yet in their months of collaboration, something had shifted between them, a respect that had deepened into friendship, and perhaps, on her part at least, into something more dangerous. March brought an unexpected thaw, both in the weather and in the Tsar's position. Concessions were announced, small ones, but significant. Some political prisoners released. Minor reforms to labor laws. In the servants' quarters, there was cautious optimism. And then came the letter that changed everything. Polina found it in a designated drawer, but unlike Stefan's previous correspondence, this one was addressed directly to her, without pretense. P. Return to your family immediately. Take the enclosed train tickets and papers. Your father has been implicated in a plot against the crown. The evidence is fabricated, but convincing. The Tsar has ordered arrests. You have 24 hours at most. Enclosed were tickets to Finland and forged papers for her entire family. Paulina's hands shook as she read them. Escape meant safety for her family, but it also meant she would never see Stefan again. The realization struck her with unexpected force. As she prepared to leave that night, a commotion in the main hall drew her attention. Through a servant's doorway, she watched as Prince Stefan himself strode in, still in traveling clothes, his face grim as he was greeted by the Imperial Guard commander. "Your Highness, we weren't expecting you for another week," the commander said. "Plans change, Colonel. I must speak with my uncle immediately." "I'm afraid that's impossible. The Tsar is in council and has given orders not to be disturbed." "Perhaps tomorrow." "This cannot wait until tomorrow," Stefan insisted, his voice carrying clearly across the hall. "Lives depend on it." Paulina's heart hammered against her ribs. Had he returned because of her family? Had he risked his position to warn them? Before she could consider the implications, the colonel's next words froze her blood. "Perhaps this concerns the Virokov matter? Because I can assure you, that situation is being handled. The arrest orders have already been issued." Stefan's face remained impassive, but Polina saw his shoulders tense. "What orders?" "Grand Duke Virokov and his family are to be arrested tonight on charges of conspiracy. The evidence was presented to the Tsar this morning." "By whom?" Stefan's voice was dangerously quiet. "Count Orlov. He provided letters proving the Duke's involvement with revolutionary cells." Polina had to stifle a gasp. Count Orlov, the very man who had denounced her father initially. This was no coincidence, it was the continuation of a vendetta. "Where is Orlov now?" Stefan asked. "He left for his country estate this afternoon. He's to return for the trial in 3 days." Stefan nodded curtly. "I still need to see the Tsar. As I said, Your Highness, tomorrow would be, now, Colonel. Or I'll find my own way in." Something in his tone made the officer step aside. As Stefan strode toward the council chambers, his path took him near the servants' doorway where Polina stood partially concealed. Their eyes met for a brief, electric moment. In that glance, she read urgency, determination, and something else that made her breath catch. She knew then what she must do. The journey to her family's cottage took 3 hours by horse, riding through a night illuminated only by a sliver of moon. Polina had exchanged her servant's uniform for a guard's cloak stolen from the barracks, a crime that would mean imprisonment if she were caught, but that risk paled beside the greater danger to her family. She reached the cottage near midnight. No lights burned within, which gave her hope that the arrest orders hadn't yet been carried out. She dismounted, approached cautiously, and tapped a coded rhythm on the door, the one her father had taught his daughters in happier times. The door opened to reveal her mother's frightened face. "Polina? What are you doing here?" "There's no time to explain," she said, pushing inside. "Where is father?" "In his study." "Polina, what's happened?" She found her father at his desk, writing by candlelight. The once powerful Grand Duke looked older than his 50 years, his shoulders bent from the weight of his fall from grace. He looked up, startled at her entrance. "Polina? My God, what are you doing here at this hour?" "Arrest orders have been issued for all of you," she said without preamble. "We need to leave now. Tonight." He stood slowly. "How do you know this?" "Prince Stefan Ivanov sent me." She pulled out the train tickets and papers. His arranged passage to Finland. Her father took the documents, examining them with a furrowed brow. "Stefan Ivanov? The Tsar's nephew? Why would he help us?" There was no time to explain the months of secret meetings, the gradual building of trust, or the unspoken feelings that had grown between them. "He believes in justice," she said simply. "And he knows the charges against you are false." Her father studied her face. "There's more to this story, isn't there?" Before she could respond, hoofbeats sounded on the road outside. Polina rushed to the window and peered through the curtains. Imperial guards, at least 8 of them, approaching the cottage. "They're here," she whispered. "We're too late." Her father moved with sudden decision. "Evgenia," he called to her mother, "get the girls. Take the cellar passage to the caretaker's hut. Polina has papers for you." "What about you?" Polina asked, though she already knew the answer. "I'll delay them," he said, pulling a small pistol from his desk drawer. "Give you time to escape." "No." Polina grabbed his arm. "Come with us. Prince Stefan is speaking to the Tsar. He'll clear your name." Her father's smile was sad. "My dear, even if that's true, these men have orders. They won't leave without a prisoner." He pressed the tickets into her hand. "Your mother and sisters need you. I need you to keep them safe." A pounding at the door punctuated his words. "Open in the name of the Tsar," a voice commanded. Paulina's mother appeared with her 2 younger sisters, their faces pale with fear. "Nikolai," she pleaded with her husband, "please, go," he insisted. "All of you. Now." The cellar passage was narrow and dank, designed generations ago as an escape route during more turbulent times. Polina led her family through it, her mother's stifled sobs the only sound as they crawled through darkness toward an uncertain freedom. Behind them, they heard the crash of the cottage door being broken open, followed by shouting and then, most terribly, a single gunshot that echoed in the confined space. Her mother collapsed against the earthen wall. "Nikolai," she wept. "We must keep moving," Polina insisted, though her own heart felt shattered. For father's sake. They emerged into the cold night air behind the caretaker's hut. The small structure had been abandoned when their fortunes fell, but Polina had included it in her regular correspondence with her family, ensuring they maintained the passage as a potential escape route. From there, they made their way through woods to the nearest village, where they would catch the first train toward the Finnish border. As dawn broke, Polina looked back toward St. Petersburg one last time. Somewhere in that city was Prince Stefan, who had risked everything to save her family, and whom she would likely never see again. "Come, Polina," her mother urged. "The train won't wait." With a heavy heart, Polina turned away from Russia and toward exile. Helsinki in spring was beautiful but foreign, the language incomprehensible, the customs strange. The Virokov women found modest lodging with the last of their resources. Polina obtained work as a translator for a shipping company, her fluency in French, English, and German proving valuable. Her sisters enrolled in local schools, and slowly, they established a new life. News from Russia reached them sporadically. Revolution seemed inevitable now. The Tsar made concessions, then retracted them. Imperial troops clashed with protesters in the streets of St. Petersburg. Of Prince Stefan, they heard nothing. Until the letter arrived, 3 months after their escape. It came through the shipping company, addressed to Polina Virokov, the pseudonym she used in Finland. The handwriting on the envelope made her heart stop. "My dearest Polina, if this reaches you, it means my contacts have succeeded in locating you. I pray daily for your safety and that of your family. First, news that may bring some comfort, your father lives. The shot you heard was fired into the ceiling. He was arrested but not harmed. I managed to convince my uncle to commute his sentence from exile to house arrest. He is confined to a monastery near Moscow, but he receives proper care and is permitted to correspond with approved persons, myself included. He knows you escaped safely. As for the broader situation, I fear Russia stands on a precipice. The Tsar makes only those concessions he feels forced to make, and the revolutionaries grow more radical with each passing day. I do what I can to moderate both sides, but I am increasingly viewed with suspicion by the court. The Austrian marriage has been postponed indefinitely, a small mercy in these troubled times. I find I cannot contemplate such an alliance when my heart is so decidedly elsewhere. Paulina, I have no right to ask anything of you, having already disrupted your life so completely. Yet I must know, are you safe? Are you well? And would you permit me to see you, should circumstances allow me to travel to Helsinki in the coming months? Whatever your answer, please know that my actions were motivated not only by justice, but by feelings I scarcely dared acknowledge even to myself during our time together. Yours in hope. Stefan. Polina read the letter 3 times, her vision blurring with tears. Her father alive. Stefan still thinking of her. Possibilities she had thought forever closed suddenly reopening. She wrote back that same night. July in Finland brought long, luminous days and nights that never fully darkened. Polina stood on the harbour pier, watching as passengers disembarked from the Stockholm ferry. The telegram had said he would arrive today, but as the crowd thinned with no sign of him, doubt crept in. Perhaps something had prevented his journey. Perhaps Princess Virokov. She turned at the familiar voice. Stefan stood a few paces away, dressed not in his usual military uniform but in a simple dark suit that made him look like any prosperous businessman. Yet nothing could disguise the intensity of his gaze as it met hers. Prince Ivanov, she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. Welcome to Helsinki. Thank you for meeting me. He closed the distance between them, taking her gloved hands in his. Seeing you again. I hardly dared hope. Around them, dock workers shouted in Finnish and seagulls cried overhead, but Polina was aware only of his presence, solid and real after months of uncertainty. Your letter said you had important news, she prompted, reluctantly withdrawing her hands. Walk with me, he asked. They strolled along the harbour, the Baltic Sea glittering in the afternoon sun. Stefan told her of the increasingly unstable situation in Russia, of his own precarious position as both the Tsar's nephew and an advocate for reform. My uncle finally agreed to a constitutional monarchy, he explained. Limited reforms, but genuine ones. It may be enough to prevent the worst of the bloodshed, though not all. That's why you've come? To tell me this political news. He stopped walking and turned to face her. No. I've come because I could no longer bear to be parted from you. Polina's heart thundered in her chest. Stefan, let me finish, please. He took a deep breath. When you were a servant in the palace, I told you I needed an ally. That was true, but incomplete. As I came to know you, your courage, your intelligence, your compassion, I realized I needed not just any ally, but you specifically. Not just for Russia's sake, but for my own. What are you saying? She whispered, though she hardly dared hope. I'm saying that I love you, Polina Virokov. That I have secured your father's full pardon and the restoration of enough family properties to ensure your comfortable return. That my uncle has, somewhat reluctantly, blessed a potential match between us. A match? She could scarcely believe what she was hearing. Stefan smiled, the expression transforming his serious face. I believe the proper term is marriage, though I hesitate to use it without knowing if my feelings are returned. You're asking me to marry you? After everything that's happened? Because of everything that's happened, he corrected. We've seen each other at our most vulnerable and our most courageous. What better foundation could there be? Polina looked out at the sea, trying to absorb the magnitude of what he offered. The court would never accept a princess who served as a maid. The court will accept what they're told to accept, he said with surprising fierceness. And those who cannot? He shrugged. Russia is changing. The old ways are ending, whether peacefully or violently. I would rather build something new with you than cling to dying traditions alone. She turned back to him, searching his face. And if I say yes? What then? Then we return to Russia together. We work for the reforms that both sides of society need. We build a life based on more than titles and obligations. His voice softened. We love each other, Polina. Freely and honestly, as equals. In that moment, looking into his eyes, Polina saw not Prince Stefan Ivanov, the Tsar's nephew, but simply the man who had risked everything to save her family. The man who had seen her true self beneath a servant's uniform. The man she had come to love despite every reason not to. Yes, she said, her voice clear and certain. Yes, Stefan. His smile was like sunrise after the longest night. He drew her into his arms there on the Helsinki pier, and as they embraced, Polina thought of all the unlikely circumstances that had brought them to this moment. She had become his servant to save her family, but he had recognized her royal secret from the start, and loved her not despite their differences, but because of the strength those differences had revealed in them both. Around them, Finland continued its peaceful summer day, while far away in Russia, change rushed toward them like an unstoppable tide. Whatever came next, they would face it together, no longer princess and prince, servant and master, but partners in creating whatever new world emerged from the ashes of the old.